Why, happy Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's having a glorious, actually it's not Wednesday, it's Thursday. Hopefully everyone's having a glorious Thursday. It was about 67 on my car thermometer. Driving on Mopac in the fine city of the state of Texas. With that being said, we're going to be talking about, I don't know if this is really politics, but it's definitely newsworthy. I guess it could be politics because it's dealing with the Second Amendment and why people are happy that Alex Baldwin is being hit with involuntary manslaughter along with the armor. It's because people that are pro Second Amendment, people that understand guns, knows it's not complicated to open up the chamber to see if there's a round in it. It's not overly complicated to open up a revolver to see if there's a live round in it. And the more and more I hear the counter argument, you don't know what you're talking about. It is a crew set, it's a TV set, this is how things are done. You obviously don't know what you're talking about when you want the actor who shot someone charged with involuntary manslaughter. It's the armorer's fault. They bear the responsibility. Only thing that the actor did was pull the trigger in the gun that they thought was empty, which goes against gun safety. I mean, I know that it's going to be used against me that I don't really like Alex Baldwin's stance on the Second Amendment. He wants us to give up our guns because guns kill people, and we already know guns kill people. But it doesn't take that much effort. I got some people saying, comparing this is no different than an actor or an actress driving a car and the brakes fail and they kill someone with it. It is different. The fact that you're trying to compare a gun to a car shows that you don't really exactly understand the gravity of what Alex Baldwin did. Now, I'll have more leeway if someone was driving a car and the brakes failed and it killed someone because a car is a mechanic that's filled with a lot of moving parts. It takes someone with a lot more knowledge about cars to check to make sure that the brakes were working. Whereas with a gun, you just pull it back depending on what type of gun it is to see if it was chambered, check the magazine to make sure that there's no rounds into it. If it's a revolver, it's even easier because you get to flip the cylinder out and check it. So there's no excuse why an actor, regardless if it's Alec Baldwin or Will Smith or fill in the blank famous actor or newbie actor, to not check their own guns to make sure that they're not pointing a loaded weapon at anybody on the stage. But we're going to go see what Fox has to say about this. I mean, I have a very strong opinion when it comes to this because I am a Second Amendment advocate. I do believe in the right to bear arms and that should not be infringed. But when you have a movie studio that's trying to hire responsibility away from actors killing people, I have an issue with it because that goes against Gun Safety 101. And I believe everybody on set, regardless if they are familiar with guns or not familiar with guns, even if they are with the same director, should take a mandatory gun safety training course on a set off of every movie and maybe redo it every week to prevent something like this. But Alec Baldwin hit with involuntary manslaughter in the death of Hania Hutchins, facing up to 18 months in prison. Hania Hutchins was killed on October 21st, 2001. It's now 2003, so he's almost a little over a year, when a gun that Alec Baldwin was holding on the set of Rust fired. I'm not going to show that video. Alec Baldwin has been charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Hania Hutchins. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Rest in peace, Miss Hutchins. I'm sorry that your child has to grow up without a mother. I'm sorry that your husband has to raise your child without you. I'm sorry that your child won't be able to witness your love and the glory that you would give to your child over someone like an Alec Baldwin that only cares about himself. Hannah Hannah Reed, who was the armor on the film Rust, was also charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. I do think that Alex Baldwin bears more responsibility, not because he's a producer, but because he fired the gun. I mean, I understand that there's going to be people there in the movie industry that will disagree with me because actors just act. It's not their responsibility to ensure that the weapon that they're firing or going to fire or going to handle will be dangerous. That goes against any gun safety training I've done. So it's a disconnect between me that you won't hold actors responsible when it could be easily remedied by having everybody that touched the gun ensure that that gun is not safe, or as what they call it, a cold gun. Alec Baldwin, attorney, called the charges terrible miscarriage of justice. I mean, a terrible miscarriage of justice. It took over a year for him to be charged. In a statement to Fox Digital, the decision distorts Helena Hutchinson's tragic death and represents a terrible miscarriage of justice. Luke Nikas of Quinn ML said, Mr. Baldwin has no reason to believe that there was a live bullet in the gun, except every gun training I went to, you treat every gun like it's loaded until you personally confirm that it's unloaded. I would have some sympathy if Alec Baldwin was 18 or 17, new to the industry, new to weapons, because he's been in many sets where guns were there, and he should have picked up a thing or two. But no, I mean, you got people defending him that he's just an actor, he's not responsible. It's the armorer, it's the director that gave him the gun. They bear all the responsibility because an actor just acts. I don't buy that argument. Let's see, had no reason to believe that there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on professionals whom he worked, professionals with whom he worked, and assured them that the gun did not have any live rounds. We will fight these charges and we will win. My opinion is I hope he loses, because I think this needs to send a message to Hollywood and media that you just cannot rely on one person as your safeguard. You cannot hire responsibility away. And if you're an actor and actress that's on set that has firearms and they hand you a firearm, I believe you're responsible for the safety of others and yourself to ensure that that gun is unloaded or is safe in case you pull the trigger and you don't hurt anyone. I think job safety is everybody's responsibility. And when an actor and actress pulls a trigger and something terrible happens, I mean, there's going to be certain evidence. I mean, I think with the Brandon Lee case, that was really odd, to be honest. That was a really odd, tragic death of him where they shot a round that they removed the black powder from. The slug got stuck in the barrel. They did a blank, and the blank had enough power to move the slug out of the barrel. But even that could have been prevented by making sure that the barrel was clean or free of debris before things. I mean, things like this, simple things like that goes a long way to make sure that people are safe and we preserve life. But anyways, Hutchins' family thanked the sheriff office and the DA after the charges were announced. We thank the Santa Fe sheriff and the district attorney for concluding their thorough investigation and determined that the charges of involuntary manslaughter are warranted for the killing of Helena Hutchinson, with a consensus disregard for human life, said in a statement issued on behalf of the Hutchinson family via attorney Brian J. Panish, founding partner of the Paintershee Balo Rabbi Poldy LLP. Our independent investigation also support charges that were warranted. It is a comfort to the family in New Mexico that no one's above the law. We support the charges and will fully cooperate with the prosecution, and furthermore, in hope that the justice system works to protect the public and hold accountable to those who break the law. New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altoiz announced that the charges Thursday morning to move more than a year after the Hutchins' tragic death. If Baldwin is convicted, he could serve up to 18 months or 5 years, from what I've been told, in prison, Involuntary manslaughter in New Mexico is the Class D felony punishable up to 18 months in prison. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Nima Ramena explained to Fox News Digital that Baldwin is convicted. I could see him being sentenced at or near the max. Baldwin has a strong defense case, and I could see him pushing the case for a trial for legal and public relation reasons. If he can do, he also has to think about his acting career in addition into doing time. But if he rolls the dice and loses at the trial, the judge may hammer him for causing Hutchinson's death. I think he is responsible, not because he's the producer, but because he actually pulled the trigger. Assistant Director Dave Halls signed a plea agreement for a charge for neglect use of a deadly weapon. The terms of the agreement included the suspension, sentence, and 6 months probation, the district attorney announced. No charges were filed in the non-fatal shooting of director Joel Souza. After a thorough review of the evidence and the laws of the state of New Mexico, I have determined that there's significant evidence to file a criminal charge against Alec Baldwin and other members of the rest film crew. Camera always said in a statement, "On my watch, no one's above the law, and everyone deserves justice." And I couldn't agree more. The district attorney explained that Baldwin and Miss Reed were charged in the alternative. This means that the jury will decide not only two are guilty, but will also decide which definition of involuntary manslaughter their action falls under. If any of these three people, Alec Baldwin, Hannah Reed, Davis Halls, had done their job, Helena Hutchinson would be alive today. It's that simple. Andrea Reeb, the special prosecutor appointed by the DA to the case, in a statement, the evidence clearly shows a pattern of criminal disregard for safety on the Rust film set. In New Mexico, there is no room for film sets that don't take our state's commitment to gun safety and public safety seriously. Before announcing the decision, the district attorney office spent time reviewing a comprehensive report submitted by the Santa Fe Sheriff Office. It's been over since a year since the cinematographer was killed by Alec Baldwin on the New Mexico movie set. I don't know who that person is. Oh, that must be his wife, and I don't really care. I do care about her because she's the victim. She died. Helena died when the gun Alec was holding fired while practicing the scene on October 21st, 2021. The group has been rehearsing in a small church in Bonza Creek Ranch set. Santa Fe County Sheriff Department has spent the last year investigating how live rounds made it onto the movie set. Armor Hannah Reed and Assistant Director Dave Halls were the only other crew members believed to handle the gun that fired on set. While all three bear responsibility, my position, based off of my gun safety training, says Alec Baldwin bears the brunt of the responsibility because he pulled the trigger. I don't care if it's a movie set. I don't care if you hired Reed to make sure the rounds were not in there. Ultimately, Alec Baldwin picked up the weapon, took the weapon in his hand, failed to do basic gun safety, actor or no actor. That is his responsibility, as in receiving a gun. Never in a million years did Hannah think a live round could have been in the dummy round box. One of Ms. Reed's attorney, Jason Ball, said in a statement shared with Fox News shortly after the fatal accident, who put those in there, and why the central question? Who put those in there, and why is the central question? That's a mouthful. Halls allegedly handed Baldwin a .45 revolver, telling him it was a Colt or safe. Prior to that, Ms. Reed spun the cylinder to show Halls that what was in the gun. Her lawyer said Baldwin has maintained that he did not pull the trigger of the gun once during the primetime interview shortly following the deadly shooting. Again, on a podcast episode, the actor originally said that he pulled the hammer of the gun back as far as he could and released it, but did not pull the trigger. I guess that depends on if there was a malfunction with the gun. But even though he failed to do his due diligence to make sure the weapon was safe. You just can't rely on professionals to say that it's safe. You trust but verify. And he failed to verify. Cameron Baldwin's named Baldwin specifically in her request for the emergency funding to prosecute the case. The DA explained that she anticipated prosecutions up to 4 individuals, possibly including Baldwin. The rest prosecution could potentially be prosecution from 1 to 4 defendants. Carmack Alders wrote in a paperwork filed in an emergency grant. One of the possible defendants is well-known movie actor Alec Baldwin. Dude, how long is this? All right. A wrongful death lawsuit was filed against Alec Baldwin and other key members of the production on February 15th, 2022. Lawsuit named Baldwin and others who are responsible for the safety on the set and called out for reckless behavior and cost cutting that led to the death of Hutchinson's, according to the family lawyer. Matthew Hutchinson's attorney interviewed witnesses before the filming and created a video compiling evidence for the wrongful death lawsuit. In the video shared at a press conference, Matthew lawyer reiterated the claims from the crew members that Russ' set was unsafe. The lawsuit claims that Baldwin, who's also a producer on the film, and other Russ crew and cast committed major breaches of safety on the set. Cinematographer family sued for punitive damages and funeral and burial expenses, among other things, originally to be determined at the trial. However, on October 5th, Elena's husband announced that the civil lawsuit has been settled pending a court approval. I guess they're trying to get this under the rug. I guess Alec Baldwin or the insurance company said, we gotta get this under the rug as soon as possible. But me, as someone that has a video channel on multiple websites, I'm going to make sure that everybody remembers Alec Baldwin killed this lovely lady. The production of Rust will not return to New Mexico. Melina Sapadino, attorney for Rust Movie Production LLC, told Fox Digital the production is considering other locations, including in California, but no decisions have been made, although it hasn't been confirmed whether Baldwin will rejoin the production. Matthew's initial announcements claimed that the production would resume with the original principal players unless Alec Baldwin is behind bars where he belongs. Now, I am very hard on Alec Baldwin for multiple reasons, but the main reason is gun safety. I know people are going to argue he's an actor, he's there to act, he's not there to ensure that a gun is loaded or not loaded. This is a falsehood in my personal opinion, and why I wish that he will be found guilty. I know as a producer he's ultimately responsible, but as someone that picked up the gun and fired it, he should bear the majority of the responsibility because he pulled the trigger. He failed to do his due diligence to ensure that the gun was safe. Now, I get that the movie industries hires professionals to prevent this from happening, but you can't hire responsibility away from accidents like this. That's just my personal opinion, and I may be legally wrong, which is fine. I could be legally wrong all I want, or I could be legally correct all I want. It's up to the courts to determine which path that is. But in my opinion, based off of my gun safety training, Alec Baldwin bears the brunt of responsibility for taking a gun, pointing it at someone, and shooting them. Now, I do think that the charges meets the crime. I don't think Alec Baldwin came in there on set to be like, I'm going to go kill the cinematographer, and this is how I'm going to do it. I don't think that's premeditated murder or second-degree murder or murder of opportunity. I don't think that was his intention. I think it was an accident. I think he didn't realize the gun was loaded, which also lies with the issue I have. But I do think the charge is warranted. I think it's the right amount of charges. I'm glad that they didn't go for murder 1 or murder 2, because I think that would be overcharge for Alec Baldwin in this particular case. With that being said, that is my video for today. Let me know what your thoughts are with Alec Baldwin. Do you agree with me that it doesn't matter if he was a producer, but the fact that he picked up a gun and fired and killed someone, he should bear most of the responsibility? Or do you agree with the critics that I've been arguing with, saying that as a movie set, I don't know what I'm talking about, We hired armors to make sure that this doesn't happen. So the responsibility falls on Miss Reed since she was the armor. Do you agree with them or do you agree with me? I mean, I do think that she's somewhat responsible, don't get me wrong, but I think my position is Alec Baldwin killed this lady. Accident, but still killed the lady. With that being said, leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. If you want to, you can smash the like and subscribe button, share my videos far and wide. With that being said, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.